Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment is brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Picnics, barbecues, wiffle ball games, hours by the pool, maybe even an outdoor family wedding. Great stuff, no doubt, that you can do all summer long on your property. But all those things are also a feast for mosquitoes. You need to kill those things. Get them out of there. You don't want the disease that those little fiends carry to you. Southeast Termite and Pest Control have a brand new treatment that's spectacular. It's better for the environment. It's worse for the mosquitoes. It doesn't kill all of the other little creatures that fly through your yard and spread pollen and make you happy, but it takes out the mosquitoes. Southeast Termite and Pest Control. They're the ones to call. SoutheastTermite.com. All right, take a look here at Athlon's preseason All-SEC team. At least these are the Vols who made it. They had Brew McCoy on the second team. Aaron Beasley and punt returner D. Williams made third team. And then they do a fourth team, which our guess here is because they're trying to sell magazines, and that'll tell everybody in the conference that we had 75 of your players listed on every team. So you have player after player after player. They also had Tennessee ranked number 15 in the nation, behind number 1 Georgia, number 3 Alabama, number 6 LSU in the conference. So they had Tennessee ranked higher than all but 3 other teams in the league. My question, though, Bob, Tennessee top 15, Joe Milton not an All-SEC quarterback. Can that happen?
Where's Chuck when I need him?
No, we want no Cavalierson. Can it happen?
I will come back and say yes if you have a running back who's in the top 3 for the Heisman. If you have a running back who is gaining 150 yards a game, who's unstoppable, who's doing great, then yeah, you could be top 15. But I don't think that's likely. In today's game, I think just like in the NFL, running backs are devalued in college, not as much as in the NFL, but they're devalued. But to me, that would be the only way is you have a running back who is just simply unstoppable. He's a phenomenon.
There's one other way. I can't believe you didn't think of this. There's another way that Tennessee can be top 15 without Joe Milton. I don't think it's going to happen. But Nico, if Nico takes over, and wins the Heisman as a freshman. I mean, I just don't see it. The offense drives this team, personally. The offense drives this team. Quarterback drives the offense. Hendon Hooker last year was first team All-SEC. I just have a hard time. If Joe Milton isn't having an All-SEC season, I don't see how Tennessee gets top 15.
I think that is the answer. And I would be, if Joe Milton gets replaced, I think that is a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't think you finish top 15.
I mean, if he gets replaced for any other reason than injury, bad thing.
All right, that's our take. What's your take? Is it possible?
Well, I was going to offer 2 things. One, I was going to say if they have just an overall running game, so everybody from Wright, Small, freshman that's exciting, Selden, and Dylan Sampson. So if they are led by the running game, that they can win enough, even if they lose to Alabama, Georgia, and if they don't beat those teams, it could hurt Milton's All-SEC candidacy against maybe Carson Beck at Georgia, who is probably winning, maybe Alabama starting quarterback, maybe Daniels at LSU. The other would be Nico. Nico is the option where it's unlikely, but if for some reason, whether it's replacing or taking over by injury, if he is Trevor Lawrence or close to it, to where he's good enough to help you get to 9-3 or 10-2, then he might be that level player All-SEC, or your team wins without Joe being the guy that gets you there. But I would say that's unlikely. If Tennessee's a top 15 team, I think it's most likely Joe is an All-SEC quarterback.
I think it's possible, but it's not incredibly likely that can happen because 15th is 9-3. And so it means you lose to Georgia, you lose to Bama, you lose to somebody else along the way. I just think you're going to have quality quarterback play. Mm-hmm. I also look around the SEC because it's not just a Joe Milton thing. It's who else in the SEC is going to be successful this year. He needs to at least be third team for Tennessee to be 9-3 because the offensive line isn't good enough for you to rush for 2,200 yards on the season.
Alabama breaking a new quarterback, they're going to be trying to win with defense in a running game. So I don't think they're going into the season. I think most people would think that would be a surprise if we come in on the other side and you got an All-SEC quarterback at Alabama. LSU's got their guy back. Georgia's going to have a new starter, so you don't know there. Will Rogers at Mississippi State, we don't know what that offense is going to be.
We don't know Jefferson or Ole Miss's quarterback, if that's Dart or Sanders.
What happens at Auburn with their transfer that coming in that offense. But I just think that if you're sitting there picking Tennessee, we've talked before, having them 15th is low for most of these preseason predictions. Most of them have them 10 to 12 somewhere. if they're going to have that kind of year, I just think you're looking at an all-SEC year
Well, here's
from
the
Joe
thing.
Milton.
What we're talking about beyond maybe, I think LSU, I think Daniels at LSU might be the leader going into the clubhouse. The rest of them are question marks. If Joe Milton, who's a bit of a question mark, turns out to be a real question mark, then I think you're in trouble. And
Right.
even the best case scenarios, unless Nico just is the second coming of Peyton Manning, he comes in the game, he understands it, he's good enough. I would really be worried if that's what you're relying on.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking, you're almost saying you can do it, but you're going to have to win in spite of Joe Milton. I don't think this offense rolls
No.
in spite of a
No.
quarterback.
Door
I
number
don't think
4
that-
could be if Tennessee's opponents, besides the obvious big names, just aren't up to it. If Florida really is struggling, if South Carolina at home just doesn't have enough for you, Missouri, the same deal, Vanderbilt, that you can get yourself to a top 15 based on who you play outside Alabama, Georgia, and probably Texas A&M.
All right, very good. When we come back, Kirk Herbstreit says he expects many more schools to start copying Tennessee's offense. What's the impact on Tennessee if many more schools start copying Josh Heupel's offense and take it elsewhere? We'll discuss that next on the Sports Source. Come on back.